Weizmann Institute's award-winning scientist, Dr. Martin Antleman, believes he has the answer.
If we all have genetic material from the first man, then it is not surprising to find here and there that you would have a giant existing among us today, because there would be a recessive gene that would produce such a person.
The Watusi tribe, for instance, are very large. The median height for most of their males is close to about 7 feet. They're extremely tall.
There are biblical references to even taller people who lived in ancient times. Rabbi Itzhak Mamostein of the Center of Jewish Studies in Vancouver, Canada.
It seems quite clear, because of the references in Genesis and later on the Book of Numbers and also in Deuteronomy, which are all fairly consistent with each other, that there were gigantic beings that seem to stem from pre-flood era.
One-seventh is what it was at that time, and therefore, life on this earth as we know it no longer has the same life expectancy as it did at the time of the flood.
A thinning of the ozone layer means less protection from the ionizing radiation from space, and less protection for plants and animals.
Being interested in Earth's original conditions, after 35 years of research on those parameters, I've attempted to reconstruct that context. And in so doing, I've had our engineers build a biosphere that doubles the atmospheric pressure, that increases the electromagnetic energy, that increases the ratio of oxygen, but not to the level of toxicity, that eliminates ultraviolet radiation, etc. And the experiments that we've run have been very gratifying.
For a year, there were these spectacular sunsets.
But what are the other consequences of those things? Maybe it would cool the Earth, maybe it would cool it too much. That might be a disaster in the opposite direction. Maybe it would cause some other environmental problem that we don't foresee today.
The Earth cooled, but that was the least of it.
Tonight in Washington, there's debate over whether to follow China and Great Britain and cease flying cosmic shield missions.
We've learned that in all aspects of engineering, there are unintended consequences.
The Surgeon General testified before Congress today on the health effects of further depletion.
The cloud was burning off the ozone layer. Once that was gone, every living creature would be exposed to a massive dose of radiation. The experiment was halted. Once they stopped spraying the gas, the ice sheets continued to melt, but now at a quicker pace. Sea level rise would soon be measured in feet, not inches.
They came here because they needed gold with which to protect their dwindling atmosphere. And now I read that a statement a couple of weeks ago by the chief scientific advisor of President Obama, who at the conference dealing with the global warming, which is really climate change, said, well, all options are on the table, including geoengineering. Now, what is geoengineering? He was asked, he said, well, even such a fantastic idea as creating a shield above our atmosphere to shield us from the sun. And that's exactly what I said the so-called Anunnaki who had come here had done on their planet so long ago. So, yes, as I read and reread, I find new points, and then, of course, the most important thing, I find corroboration of things that when I first published, when the first book was published, it took me 30 years to research it. That seemed so outlandish.
And what is so remarkable now, too, Zechariah, astronomers are beginning to discover distant planets now. in other systems. And, one day they will find that extra planet in this solar system, I am sure.
Well, they found it in 1983. The so-called Iris,
Right. But do you think that is Nibiru?
Of course. Well, I had one of my friends was the important astronomer Harrington at the U.S. Naval Observatory, and I met him, and he gave me an interview on tape, videotape, and he pointed to a bookshelf behind his desk, and there was my book, the one you mentioned, The 12th Planet. And he said, whenever I reach a tough question, a tough point, I pick up your book for inspiration and guidance. So, no, the planet was seen, and it was immediately, the next day, quashed and hush-hushed, and then, as I write in my book, Genesis Revisited, it led to the whole change in relation.
Personal opinion is that we have to keep geoengineering on the table. We have to look at it very carefully because we might get desperate enough to want to use it. The danger, of course, with geoengineering is the one I was referring to a moment ago. We don't understand the system well enough to predict its responses in detail, and that means there's always a danger if you try to engineer the system on a large scale that you will do something that has side effects that are worse than the dimension of the problem you're trying to cure with the geoengineering in the first place.
The only answers the Spaniards were given was the gods. It was the gods' tears that gold was formed. The Incas said, and in so pointing to the gods, they unknowingly echoed the statement of the biblical Lord through the prophet Haggai, the silver is mine, and the gold is mine. So said the Lord of hosts, Lord of armies, Lord Almighty. Now I want to quote from the logbook of Enki, Synopsis of the first tablet. Nibiru's place in the solar system, a dwindling atmosphere causes climate changes. Efforts to obtain gold to shield the atmosphere fail. The second tablet. Nibiru is destined to forever orbit the sun. Alalu's arrival and landing on Earth. Alalu, discovering gold, holds Nibiru's fate in his hands. First tablet. Extraction of gold from the water begins. Though the quantity is minuscule, Nibiru demands delivery. Abzu, a pilot, uses Alalu's spaceship for a trip. Fourth tablet. The Nibiruans hail even the small gold delivery. So happy they are with that. Test of gold's use as an atmospheric shield succeed. Well, this is the proof from the ancient clay tablet that Zacharias has translated. So all credit is for him. No doubt about it.